By now, I think we've established that software engineers at FAANG companies are paid a boatload of money. This is usually anywhere between $175,000 per year to as much as $1.82 million per year. While it's extraordinarily difficult to get to level 7 or 8 and earn 7-figure salaries, it's relatively possible to get to level 5 or 6 if you make the correct education and career choices and are willing to grind out lead code. But all of this comes with one caveat. You have to go into software engineering. From an objective perspective, this choice seems like a no-brainer. But not everyone is good at software engineering. And even if they are, they don't necessarily want to serve Stack Overflow all day. They'd much rather talk with customers and colleagues, set business goals, and drive forward the company. Fortunately, while software engineers do get the highest salaries, there are several roles at these companies that pay nearly as much with no coding experience. So here's the top 3 highest paying FAANG jobs that don't require coding. Starting off with one of the broadest jobs offered at FAANG, we have product managers. Product managers are responsible for setting the goals and vision of a given product and coordinating the right people. For example, if you were the product manager of Instagram, your first goal would be to define the needs of Instagram users. For Instagram, this would probably be hours of mindless entertainment along with social validation. The second step would be to create different pathways in which your product can achieve these goals. One pathway might be to leverage photos, while another would be to leverage short-form video. Once you've got a couple of strong plans, your job would be to convince senior leadership that they should actually put resources behind these plans and make them a reality. If all goes well, you'll have to work with the technical people to make sure that your vision is actually executed correctly. And in the end, your performance will be evaluated based on how well you achieve the needs of your customers and stakeholders. For example, how much did your idea increase user engagement and how much did it increase user satisfaction? Similarly, how cost-effective was it and was there better options? As you can see, there's nothing that's technically difficult about this role, but that's also what makes this job so difficult. You're often working with abstract concepts and visions to produce quantifiable results. On the bright side, while the title has the word manager in it, you won't have any direct reports unless you're at an extremely senior level. This means that you can be hired into this role straight out of college as an L3 product manager. And most of the people at this level are indeed fresh college graduates. You definitely won't be working on something as influential as Instagram or YouTube at this level, but you may get to work on certain subproducts of these systems. For example, you may be in charge of Instagram's newsfeed or YouTube's like button. In terms of career trajectory, you have the potential of reaching 7 figures as a product director, so there's plenty of room to grow. Also, most C-suite executives were product managers at one point in their careers, including Sundar Pichai. So if you're aiming for the moon, this would be the track for you. But we should note that this is one of the hardest careers to break into, simply because it's so abstract and broad. Virtually anyone can apply to this role and meet the minimum qualifications. But it's extremely difficult to actually get an interview and then convince the interviewer that you're the right choice. Also, a lot of the products that you work on will be experimental, meaning that they'll be the first to get cut during a recession. But if you're looking for a sort of entrepreneurial leadership role, this would be the way to go. Moving on to a strongly related but starkly different role, we have program managers. Again, while the title has the word manager in it, you probably won't be managing people unless you're L7 or beyond. Instead, your role would be to manage programs. Your primary job as a program manager would be to execute the vision of the product manager. If the product manager was the CEO of a product, you would essentially be the COO. You would need to ensure that products are delivered on time and within budget. For example, if the product manager wants a search feature that can scale to 100 million users, it will be your job to make sure that the backend systems can keep up in a cost-effective manner. This generally means working with software engineers and solutions architects to create robust, scalable programs. Basically, you would be responsible for bringing together all of the details to make the product manager's vision a reality. There are 2 main types of program managers, which are just program managers and technical program managers. if you're looking into this role, I think you definitely want to go the Technical Program Manager or TPM route. Not only does the technical route pay substantially more, but it's much easier to score one of these roles if you do indeed have the technical know-how. One option for TPMs is to become a software engineering TPM, but there are plenty of TPM roles that don't require any software engineering skills. Instead, they require technical knowledge of cloud systems, databases, networks, enterprise solutions like SAP, Oracle, Salesforce, and so on. While it does take time to learn these disciplines, you often become irreplaceable within an organization. During a market downturn, it's easy for companies to slash products and thus slash product managers and regular program managers. But it's way more difficult to cut a technical program manager who's responsible for Google Cloud or essential internal software like SAP S/4HANA. So, being a technical program manager gives you a solid mix of having technical skills that are hard to replace, but also not having to do technical stuff all day. If you chose the regular program manager route, on the other hand, you'd be doing essentially the same thing, except you likely won't be dealing with tech products. Instead, you'll probably be dealing with the supply chain, marketing, or UI. For example, if you were a supply chain program manager at Apple, you may be responsible for ensuring that enough iPhones make their way to retail locations in the southern part of the US. Similarly, if you were a UI program manager, you may be responsible for testing various UI features and delivering the most effective set of features. You should keep in mind, though, that if you're targeting one of these broader roles, you'll likely be facing a lot more competition, simply because more people will meet the requirements. This is yet another reason to go down the technical route, but in the end, it's up to you. Moving on to the next role, we have my personal favorite, which is Solutions Architect. Unlike Program Manager and Product Manager roles that appeal to a broad range of people, Solution Architect roles are usually extremely specific. These roles are super technical, meaning that you can't BS your way into any of these roles. But that's also the beauty of these roles. You'll only be competing with people who also know the technical stuff. But what exactly does a Solutions Architect even do? Well, one way to think about it is that they're basically the software engineers of non-coding tasks. For example, if you need to code an algorithm, you would contact a software engineer. But if you need to deploy that algorithm onto the cloud at scale, you would contact a cloud solutions architect. That's definitely an oversimplification of the role, and there are some solutions architects that need to know coding. But in general, solutions architects handle all of the technological tasks that don't involve coding. This includes things such as migrations, deployments, database management, network management, cloud infrastructure, and IT security. Usually, you'll choose one sector to be an expert in. For example, you can be an expert in cloud solutions and to know the ins and outs of AWS, GCP, and Azure. Or you can be an expert in enterprise solutions and to know everything about Oracle, SAP, and Salesforce. Given the technical nature of the role, job security is usually on par with software engineers, if not even more. This is especially true if you specialize in something like cybersecurity. Just because the job requires a bunch of technical knowledge does not mean that you'll be doing technical stuff all day, though. Much of the job has to do with conveying technical information to non-technical people. For instance, if you're an internal solutions architect, you would likely need to work with a bunch of internal technical program managers and provide them with the best backend solutions for a given product. If you're an external solutions architect, you'll work with enterprise customers and help these customers implement your company's solutions to the best extent. If you're a solutions architect at AWS, for example, your job might be to keep Netflix happy in terms of the backend. This means maximizing speed, scalability, and reliability while minimizing costs and lag. In terms of career trajectory, solutions architects don't quite make it into the seven figures. But that's simply because there's not as many levels. In terms of the compensation at each level, though, you basically get the same compensation as a TPM. For example, an L7 solutions architect at Google makes $535, while an L7 TPM at Google makes $527. Also, if you're a star solutions architect, you'll have an easy time switching to senior TPM roles. For example, a reasonable switch may be to go from being an L7 enterprise architect to being the director of enterprise resource planning, which is basically an L8 TPM role. From there, you can become a managing director, vice president, senior vice president, and so on and so forth. So, in the end, if you're willing to do technical stuff but don't necessarily want to code, solutions architect is definitely the way to go. As you've probably noticed by now, this video was mainly focused at tech roles that don't require coding, but these companies also hire a bunch of non-tech roles as well. For example, they need accountants, data scientists, product designers, business analysts, recruiters, and so on. And these companies pay well for all of these roles. For example, an L6 Google recruiter earns a whopping $335,000 per year. With that being said though, in the end, these companies are tech companies, meaning that the people who are the most valuable and the most influential will be tech workers. This primarily consists of software engineers and the people who work directly around software engineers, like product managers, program managers, and solutions architects. So if you want to play an integral role at these companies but not have to code, these three choices are by far the best options. If you're more of a business person and want to create overarching goals and visions and then not really deal with the technical stuff, you might want to look into product management. If you're comfortable dealing with some technical stuff but still want to mainly focus on the business side of things, you probably want to look into program management. And finally, if you're super comfortable with technical stuff but you just don't want to do coding specifically, your best bet would be to become a solutions architect. All of these roles are in high demand not just inside FAANG but across the entire job market. In the modern age, virtually every company needs IT solutions, and all of these roles are essential in delivering said IT solutions. So even if you aren't able to crack into FAANG directly with one of these career paths, it's more than likely that you'll be able to make it into a background company like Cisco or Oracle. And from there, if you're truly a star performer, it's just a matter of time until you make it into a FAANG company, if that's your goal of course. Which role sounds most appealing to you? Comment that down below. Also, drop a like if you'd like to be paid a FAANG salary. And of course, consider checking out our Discord community to suggest future video ideas and consider subscribing to see more questions logically answered. But until then, I'm Hari, and I'll see you guys on the next one.